I see. What ho, chaps and chappets, Game Chap and Bertie here.
Yes.
Yes, indeed, fellows, and I dare say we are taking here an early look preview at Xenoblade Chronicles 3D, the upcoming game on Nintendo 3DS, and this time we'll be inspecting some of the game's cutscenes and graphics, as you can see here, with a side-by-side comparison with the Wii version of the game.
Ah, so we've got a side-by-side here, 3DS to the Wii. Most interesting.
Indeed, I say. On the left-hand side you'll see the Wii, and on the right-hand side the 3DS, and I dare say the first thing I'm noticing here, old boy, is those graphics are quite impressive, old chap.
Well, they are, yes indeed. Hang on, what, left-hand side is which one?
Left-hand side is Wii, and right-hand side is 3DS, and you have to ask me, old chap, it's quite hard to tell the difference, and I believe in some of these scenes the 3DS is definitely looking better, old chap.
Well, it's interesting, yes, most certainly, and quite surprising since it's obviously a much smaller screen.
Exactly, that's right. So, of course, these being the story cutscenes of the game, we'll get an idea of, a general idea of what's going on here, as well as being able to share with you some information about the game, which is, of course, coming out very soon now.
It most certainly is. 3DS is out next week, I believe.
My goodness me, the reason
2nd of April.
Fast approaching there, fellows. You can, of course, see the intro cutscene to the game here, I believe, and really, once more, we can see the 3DS version holding up nicely there against its Wii counterpart.
Yes, we most certainly can, and it is. And what is actually happening here on screen at the moment, then?
Well, here we have the intro of the game, of course, showing the two titans here, locked in timeless combat until one of them falls, or actually I think they both fall, thereby setting about the events that bring the game's introduction and storyline into motion. And then, of course, we have our next scene here with Dunban charging into battle against the evil forces of the Mechon hordes.
Ah, of course he is, no doubt using his sword.
That's right, the Monado, of course.
Yes,
the
indeed.
Monado being a very important weapon. You'll see all those poor regular soldiers there, they don't have a chance against the robot armies, but the Monado does. It can deal with them by slicing straight through them.
The Monado does, yes, of course, but it takes special abilities, of course, to hold this sword, and some people have a little bit of trouble, or characters have a trouble holding it.
That's right, not everyone can wield the Monado with ease, and of course the poor regular humans there have not a chance at all. Retreat, retreat, they say!
Most certainly, and there we are, the graphics again, it's showing up Wii U to 3DS, holding very well on the 3DS there.
I certainly have to say, Chap, they've done a nice job at reproducing and porting the game from Wii to 3DS, of course. Oh no, poor chap.
Most certainly. So left-hand side was 3DS?
No, of course not. Left-hand side was Wii, actually, and right-hand side 3DS there.
Right, so the right-hand side that you're watching, chaps and chapettes, is the 3DS.
That's right, of
Amazing.
course. It's quite impressive, isn't it, Chap?
Well, it is, yes, indeed. Lots of action going on there. And, of course, the whole game is all about rather, vast landscapes, actually.
Yes.
Of course, and they say it seems to have been brought quite well onto the 3DS platform, reproducing it quite well there.
Indeed, and of course, it's worth noting at this point, fellows, that if you'd like to play Xenoblade Chronicles 3D, you will need the new Nintendo 3DS hardware console for this game. That's right, you can't play it on your standard 3DS XL or old 3DS. And, of course, the reason for that is the extra processing muscle of the new console is required to handle the large environments and graphics of this game.
Well, most certainly. Now, chaps and chapettes out there, people may be wondering, well, why do I have to go out and buy a new 3DS to play Xenoblade Chronicles? I mean, is it a marketing ploy by Nintendo? It makes you wonder.
Certainly it does, old boy, but at the end of the day, I have to say, if the new hardware is required and you want to play the game, you have to jolly buy the new hardware, and it's as simple as that, really.
Well, most certainly. One advantage, of course, to it is you can actually use the C-stick on the new console to navigate around the rather large landscapes and see all the good effects, etc.
I see, and of course another game where we had the C-stick being used was Monster Hunter 4 Ultimate, and the C-stick very, very useful in that game. Not required for that particular game, but very handy all the same, and I'm sure no doubt on the new 3DS here with Xenoblade Chronicles 3D, the C-stick will indeed prove very useful once again.
Oh, I think you definitely need it, yes, certainly to navigate around the environments, etc. so forth, a lot easier, I think, than using the D-pad.
And just in case you were wondering if they've managed to capture the atmosphere of the original game on 3DS, take a look at the sounds here and see what you think.
Looks like the Mechon are hell-bent on taking us out.
They'll have to be if they want to beat us. Now, let's even the odds a bit.
You heard him.
Dixon, Mumka, let's do this.
And off they go into battle, I say. So, very well reproduced there, Elsham, I have to say.
It most certainly is, yes. It's looking good, and hopefully it will be, for Nintendo anyway, a game which people will want to go out and get.
Exactly. Of course, I dare say, this of course was quite a popular game back on the original Wii, but unfortunately the original game suffered from stock shortages. You'll see, it wasn't readily available, whereas this one of course will be available to anyone who'd like to play it, providing you have the new hardware.
Well, most certainly, yes. Did you say sock shortages?
Sock shortages? Did I say sock shortages?
Sock shortages? I mean, goodness me, people playing without their socks on.
Really?
Yes,
I
think
did,
it's
of
stock
course,
shortages,
mean to
actually.
say stock shortages, that's right. And I do hope, of course, there won't be a similar situation this time round. I'm sure it will be
You
ready.
had to have the stocks on to play it.
Yes, of course.
That was the thing.
That's
No,
right.
Yes, no, but seriously, yes, indeed. Now, people may be asking those who haven't played the game, what's it all about? Well, this game actually is a rather large game that it sort of merges real-time action along with RPG strategy.
Elements, that's right, of course.
Elements,
You've got a bit of
yes.
both there, actually. Rather than having direct combat, where, as I said, you sort of attack units directly by chopping away with the buttons, you don't actually do that in this game. You sort of take turns, as it were. It's kind of turn-based, but you use on-screen buttons to perform attacks, use special moves called arts, etc., and so forth.
Yes.
And that's in the combat, but outside of the combat system, you can actually explore this large open world, visit towns, organise your party, and generally do those kinds of RPG things. If I had to put the game in a definite category, I'd have to say it's a bit like a JRPG, old chap.
Yes, it has those elements to it, and I think it works for this type of game. Now, also, you just said about moving from place to place there,
Yes.
large environments. Now, apparently, you can transport quickly between locations
Right.
by pressing the old ZL and ZR buttons on the new 3DS.
Ah, is that so? So
Yes,
you've got
indeed.
fast travel mapped to those two buttons, have you? I
Yes,
see.
indeed.
Interesting.
Yes, like that, so you can travel around. You see, that is one of the things that they've used. So that'll be rather useful.
Right, of course, you have a way to traverse the large environments of the world, perhaps faster on the 3DS without having to run from place to place all the time. Although, of course, it is rather good just to run through those fields and take in the scenery.
Well, yes, you can do that all day if you like. You can just run along and just take in the scenery and see what's out there. Yes, I believe you can do that all day long if you want to.
Exactly, of course. So, again, you can see the cutscenes here are very much carrying a lot of passion and emotion across. Of course, the overall plot of the game is very, shall we say, it's a bit tragic, old chap. You've got alien robots attacking and destroying colonies. You've got our heroes desperately trying to fight back and save the day. It's quite an engaging plot, I have to say.
Well, it's an engaging plot. You've got people dying there. You've got sort of main sort of ish characters dying
No,
straight
you can't
away.
say that, can you? Goodness me.
Yes, just dying.
Well,
I didn't say who it was.
No,
Or who
no.
they were or whatever, but people can die on you, so just be careful. Make sure you've got your tissues ready to cry.
That's right, I have to say, indeed, Vales, this is not a game for the faint of heart, I have to say. Many people, of course, might consider it to be a very much an emotional and passionate game, as it were, because it certainly has those elements to it, but I think you'll understand here and appreciate that the cutscenes are very well produced, and you can see on the side-by-side comparison again there that the 3DS is really holding up to the Wii version.
Well, yes, I think that the cutscenes are an important part of any game nowadays to get you into the feel of it and what's actually going on. Certainly a game like this. And even though Nintendo said they weren't all that bothered about cutscenes recently,
They did.
They did say that. Obviously, they don't mind, and they brought them in back here.
Yes, I think they have done, of course, this being a remake of a Wii game, but nonetheless very cutscene rich and very story rich.
Most certainly. Now, you were saying earlier about the systems and things like that. So it's not just a sort of just pick up and walk through type sort of game.
No.
You've got the battle system that you said there, as well as, I believe, what they call an affinity system,
Right.
which kind of tracks the relationships between the game's main characters, I think.
Really?
And says how they get along with each other and things like that. So you've got those sort of systems going on.
But I see, so you've got this kind of Fire Emblem system almost, of relationships between characters, is that right?
Well, yes, I think they're trying to get to that idea. Yes, indeed. I think even down to even love and things like that. Between
Romance, that kind of thing.
Yes, I think so,
So
yeah.
very much that sort of thing then. So perhaps, of course, you can build up relationships between your characters as you proceed through the game, and maybe that'll unlock things like extra, powers and abilities and strengths, etc. and so forth for those characters.
Well, yes, it may well do. That's a good point. Yes, it could well do. Whether they've increased that or made it any different on this version than the original Wii, I don't know. But we'll have to wait and see.
I think most of the features have been retained intact from the original game, with, of course, some additions. This looks quite exciting. Let's listen in, shall we?
Right.
Oh my goodness, I thought for sure she was a goner, old chap.
Well, yes, there we are. That's an example there of the big old Monado sword there.
That's right.
Not being able to be used or wielded by just anyone.
No, that's right. Rhyme there can't contain or handle the Monado's power. Only people like Shulk and Dunman can do that. It's not for everyone, you know.
Most certainly, so there's a rather interesting element there, and obviously that's the main thing, Shulk with the big sword there going around. And of course his other powers he's got to be able to almost see into the future, as it were, and see things that are going to happen. He's got that as well in the game.
A very important ability of Shulk in this game is, of course, his vision ability. Now, that was also carried over to Super Smash Bros. In his down B counter move. He could sort of see ahead of the opponent and counter them with a mighty slash from the Monado. And in this game, of course, he can also see ahead to when perhaps he might be hurt, or his friends might be hurt, or worse, they might die, and then step in to save them and save their lives using the Monado.
Exactly, so that's one of the elements you've got in the game. And apparently you can actually play as Shulk, or be Shulk, or up to five, I think, other characters to take on the old baddies.
Really interesting.
I think so, yes.
Very interesting. Now, I have to say, Bertie, did you play the original game on Wii?
Did I play the original game on Wii? Well, no, as a matter of fact, I didn't.
I see.
Yes.
Now, neither did I, actually. Perhaps this was, of course, for a number of reasons. Firstly, it was a game released rather late in the Wii's life cycle. Many people may have missed the original outing, and also, it was notoriously hard to get hold of on the original Wii, as we said a bit earlier. So this really is a fresh chance for some people to experience this game, I think.
Well, most certainly, yes. I mean, I played an awful lot of other games around there on the Wii,
yes.
But of course, not that one. And maybe maybe a lot of other people didn't. Perhaps because they were playing sort of Mario-type games, what they thought was on Nintendo.
Yes.
Nintendo-ish games, as it were, rather than this one. So, as you say, a lot of people now, perhaps like myself, etc., will be able to play the game they haven't played before.
That's right, of course. And indeed, with Shulk having just appeared in Super Smash Bros. On Wii U, many people may be interested to see his backstory and find out exactly what happened in his game and where his quotes like, "I'm really feeling it," and "This is the Monado's power," where these quotes came from.
Well, exactly, yes, it's a very good point.
And rest assured, he does say that he's really feeling it quite a lot in the battles in this game.
I'm really feeling it.
Yes, exactly.
It's like that, isn't he?
Of course, the overall
Yes.
overarching fiend or villain of the series is that nasty chap Metal Face. And of course, in this next cutscene, we're going to be seeing, I believe, Metal Face along with his army of robots attacking the poor old colony. And my word, the captain of the guard, he just can't do anything against such an onslaught.
No, indeed, they've got the weapons, but it looks like this chap's rather large.
They're rather tough. Their weapons are useless against the onslaught. Nasty videos, I have to say. And you can see an example here of a very nicely done cutscene in this game. Some of the cutscenes are well worth appreciating.
And an unknown number of units emerging from the carriers!
You idiots! Why didn't you see this lot until they were right on top of us?
But sir, we thought the Mechon had all been wiped out!
Oi! What's happening? Respond! Huh?
Oh no, that's terrible, old chap. So we get an idea of the feel of the game here and the sort of chaos that this particular civilization faces.
Yes, we do, and as I say, looking a good, fun-to-play sort of game with lots of things going on, which is what you want.
That's right, of course, and I think the overall gameplay divided into two main categories there. You have, of course, got the exploration through the world, whereby you're sort of walking through the fields of Gaur Plain, etc., and so forth, and interacting with the civilians of the people of the towns, etc., and so forth.
Yes.
And also you have the battle system, whereby you'll go into that sort of semi-turn-based mode we spoke about earlier, again, making use of the arts and regular moves and team-based strikes to deal with your opponents. Now, it seems to me that in the combat sections of the game, which are arguably some of the game's bread and butter, the enemy units you'll face are actually quite tough. They might take a long time to go down.
Well, yes, indeed. You're just saying about the battle system there.
Yes.
Apparently, you sort of move your lead character, whichever one you're playing.
Yes.
And of course, the members with you that are coming along with you in your party, they will also automatically attack the enemies when you engage them, I think, or when they get near them.
Right, okay, so you control the main character, and your allies will automatically also slash away at those enemies.
Well, most certainly, and apparently also the original Wii one had, and I think it will probably have on this one as well, what they called an aggro ring around the characters.
An aggro ring? So what exactly is the aggro ring then?
Well, apparently the bigger this ring gets, and it sort of it responds to the actions the character actually does.
Right.
So the more things he does, the bigger it actually gets. But when this happens, it means that the enemy begins to target him more. I suppose sees him as more of a threat, as it were.
Okay.
So you've got to be a little bit strategic how you're playing.
Right, so basically, if one of your characters in your party starts to do very well against a particular enemy, the enemy may say, well, this chap's a real threat, and start to focus its attacks on him.
Well, exactly, which is, of course, a way to be strategic and perhaps, divert the attention of the enemy away to that one while you do something else.
Well, of course, that may have, also necessitate a bit of saving with the old vision move of the Monado, perhaps.
Well, yes, that to it, yes. So there's lots of fun elements of the game, you know.
That's right, and I do believe here we are seeing Shulk and crew facing off against, well, Metal Face, I think.
Metal Face himself, yes.
He seems to get round, doesn't he, old chap?
He does, he gets about in that thing, all right, yes.
That's right, I say. So, of course, looking here at the gameplay, can we draw some comparisons between this particular game and also the one that's coming out on Wii U soon, which I think is Xenoblade Chronicles X?
Oh, well, Xenoblade Chronicles X, of course, is different in as much as it's a completely different game. This is actually, the same as the one that was on the Wii.
That's right.
Xenoblade Chronicles X is it's the same thing, but it's a different story, different game.
That's right. So we're not actually going to be seeing Shulk in the Xenoblade Chronicles X game, are we? At least we don't think so at this point.
Well, we don't 100% know, but that may well be the case. Of course, what we expect to see as well on the Xenoblade Chronicles X will be much, much better graphics.
Yes.
But we'll have to wait and see.
That's right. I think we can expect to see better graphics on the Xenoblade X version because, of course, it's a Wii U game.
Wii U, yeah.
But again, you have to really appreciate here on the 3DS they've done a good job with these graphics and they are holding up quite well to inspection, I have to say.
Well, indeed, of course, and with Chronicles X coming out not too long after this one, I think perhaps Nintendo are sort of saying, well, okay, have some of this Xenoblade food, as it were.
That's right.
And when you've done with that, you can have a little go at the Xenoblade Chronicles X as well.
A second helping, that's right.
A second helping, yeah.
Now let's see what's going on here, shall we? Oh no, it's not looking good for the girl, I say. You weren't talking about this earlier, were you, old chap?
No.
What? Oh no, I can't bear to watch, I say. Goodness me.
Well, something bad's happening there.
I suppose we're going to find out what exactly happens once we do get the game for ourselves, Fadale, but of course it does indeed seem we have some quite passionate and potentially sad cutscenes going on here.
Well, yes, there's a lot going on. I suppose, like in many games, you can relate to the characters and then get upset when things happen, you know.
That's right. Keep a box of tissues handy, I think.
Yeah.
No! Oh dear, the poor Fadale. Yes, indeed, folks. So as we were just saying there, I do indeed think that if you actually want to play as Shulk after having seen him in Super Smash Bros., you'll need to pick up this particular game on the 3DS, because he won't be making an appearance, at least not as the main character, in the Wii U version or the Xenoblade Chronicles X game coming out a bit later this year.
Ah, yes, I think because, as we said earlier, a lot of people here, I think, perhaps haven't played the game before, Nintendo fans or not as it may be.
Yes.
So they're saying, right, okay, well, you know, let's give them a feel of this with 3DS, see how they get on,
right.
Explain to them the story, etc.
Yes.
Because people are more likely to play the game on the 3DS than they are to go and find the Wii if they can fish it out the attic somewhere or something and plug it in.
Yes.
And play it on that one.
And I think also we are seeing here quite an interesting tactic by Nintendo. They are releasing the 3DS Xenoblade and then, of course, the Wii U one after that. Now, where have I seen this before? Of course, they did it last year with Super Smash Bros. We had the 3DS version and then the Wii U version, although in that case they were, of course, essentially the same game, whereas these two adventures are actually completely different.
Yes, this is the case, yes, and I think it worked for them to do that last time, although
yes.
I must say that I think since both the games are the same of the Smash Brothers, I don't think many people play the 3DS one now, but maybe they do, I don't know.
Perhaps they do when they're out and about. I mean, as you say, the games are of course the same, whereas this time there really is an incentive to pick up this version of the game, because of course it's not the same game as the Wii U version, if you will. I say version there because of course they're both Xenoblade games, but the storyline, the plot, the characters and everything else are completely different, so well worth picking up both to get both aspects, I think.
Yes, exactly, and of course they've used English-speaking actors on this one,
yes.
Which they're quite good, you know, and so
yes.
It adds to the flavour of the character of the game, letting you get deeper into the whole thing like you're there, which is what they want to obviously produce.
It's quite a unique story, and the English voice actors do indeed add their own elements to the game, I have to say, of course Shulk being the most famous example.
Yes, indeed, of course. We've just seen a cutscene there with the whole idea of getting the feel of it. He's feeling it. You can always see it in his face. He's feeling something now.
He hates the enemy, it seems, old chap, and who could blame him, I say? My word. I think the enemy can see him now, actually.
It looks like
me, old chap. So, there you are, Fails, of course. This is an example of the cutscenes in both versions of the game with a side-by-side comparison, and now it's time for your thoughts and my thoughts, Bertie. What do we think about this comparison on the screen, old chap?
Well, comparisons, yes. I mean, no doubt as people have been watching and they've been listening to it, except they've been looking at this.
Yes.
And comparison-wise, I think it's holding up very well.
I do.
On the 3DS from the Wii. I mean, because obviously the 3DS is not as powerful as a console unit that sits underneath your television.
Necessarily, no.
No, so they've done quite well, I think, putting on there. It doesn't look to be too bad. Now, how it stands up to the 3D effect, we'll have to wait and see.
That's right, of course, you do have the added bonus of the 3D effect on the Nintendo 3DS console, which you never had on the Wii version of the game. And I am seeing here, certainly in some areas of the game, the 3DS graphics have taken a bit of a buff to the brightness, so they're slightly easier to see, for example, in dark scenes with robotic metal and that sort of thing going on.
Yes, indeed. Yes, I think it works. We'll have to see how it actually plays out on the actual
Much
console.
brighter there, you can see on the right-hand side, for example.
Yes, I saw
and
that.
Indeed, I think, to truly appreciate the graphics of this game, you'll have to experience it on the console for sure.
Yes, indeed, most certainly. Yes, on the actual 3DS console.
On the 3DS console,
yes,
that's
3DS
right.
console. Yes, indeed, yes.
That is, of course, where you'll be able to experience the full effect of the 3D graphics, and of course you'll be able to see it on that slightly smaller screen there with the vibrant colours coming through.
Most certainly, but the thing is, how much excitement is actually surrounding this game with it coming out? Is there a huge amount of excitement out there? Perhaps the chaps and chapettes who are listening can give an idea and say, well, I'm interested in it, I think it's good. Or maybe they think, well, no, I'm not bothered at all. Where's the next Samus game or something?
Well, indeed, I say. Certainly different Nintendo fans have different tastes, but I'm sure many of you out there will be looking at this and very much looking forward to the next exciting outing of Xenoblade, remake or not, upon the 3DS console, plus, of course, the Wii U version just around the corner, so this really is building hype, if you ask me.
I think it is, yes, most certainly. It's building hype. One of the more major titles, I think, Nintendo bringing out this year, for sure.
Yes, I certainly think this is one of their larger guns, as it were, this year, and many people, again, looking forward to this title. Well, this hasn't even been our impressions upon the game videos, and of course, do let us know what you think of these two games here, the comparison thereof, and of course, the upcoming one on the Wii U as well. Are you going to pick this game up? Are you going to leave it? What do you think, I say?
Oh, yes, indeed, let us know.
This has indeed been Game Chap and Bertie then, fellows. Thank you kindly for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you once more the next exciting outing, my word. Until then!